Okay, so welcome back. So when building an application, we need to have it in mind that a full stack application, the main thing you need to be working with is the database, and then you have to like ensure that you design your database how you want your relationship of your database tables to be, and then what you want to put in those database tables. So this is the main logic behind any full stack application. And then if we like want to talk about something advanced, then we can just move on to maybe caching, content delivery, and all those stuff. But we don't need to do all of that for this simple forum that we want to create. So our database is the main thing that we are going to be dealing with. And then to be able to create a database, we use a PHP artisan command in Laravel called PHP artisan make model. So I'll be creating so many database tables in this application. Now let's go to the site that we are trying to like build. Now take a look at the Nairaland forum. This is one of the oldest forum in my location. Then you can see all these pages like this. These are different sections of where people come to post information about a certain specific topic. For example, this is the celebrity section where people talk mostly about celebrities, fashion, and all those stuff. So we need to have it in mind that we need to have a table that has something similar to this. We can call that table our topic section. This is the table that carries all the title of each page that we are trying to like access. And then when we click on one of this page, for example, this is the back this topics page at the backbone of this forum. Now when you click on this page, for example, you can see this section, which is just the default header that comes in again. Then you can see this advertisement and all those stuffs. So now let's ignore that. Then you can see this pagination of 1 to 10 pages and all those stuff, and the number of topics that have been created. Now the main focus is this part where we have all these posts that are created by people, and you can see the name of the individuals who created the post, the amount of people who have viewed the post, and then the amount of reactions on the post, and then the time that which the post was created. And so just like that, we are able to like understand how what we want to be working with will look like. Now let's create our model. So the first model that we'll be creating is for the topic model. So we'll call it topics table. So what do we do? Now we say PHP artisan make model. So PHP artisan make model in small letter, make model. Then what is the name of the model? So we say topic, or we can leave it as topic table, but then let's just say topics or topic. Let's just do it this way. And then we best practice to like capitalize the first letter of our model. So we say topic with the capital letter T. And then when we do this, then we click on, then we add a new we add one more command to it, which is dash m. What does this dash m means? It means that when you create the topic model, this is the logic behind the topics table. Then dash m should be the migration, that is the all the database column, all the informations you want to put into them. That is, for example, if you have a topic, this is the topic, and then the columns of which the topic is going to like contain, which is um for example, it can be text, it can be integers, it can be floating points, but then this is just a normal string, so we can just leave it as text because the name of each section, which of each of this topic, it is a string. So say PHP as a make model topic, and then dash m. So it's going to create a model and a migration. So let's just see, and then this shouldn't take long, and then it is going to create it for us. And so you say model created successfully. Very good. Now to access our model, we just need to first go into the models folder, which is in app folder. So you can just scroll up. I prefer to always use the search functionality because we don't need to start looking for and start navigating through folders. But if you go into the app models, so this is one of the issues I face when trying to like start clicking and nesting through folders. app model. So you can see the topic section, which is this. It creates a default model that extends what class. Okay, so it's making use of the illuminate eloquent model class. So it's for any eloquent command that you want to create. So we'll be working with that later on. Now we have another model here, which is the user.php. This is for the users table. Now let me try and explain this to you in a more graphical form. Now let's go to database and see localhost. We go to PHP admin where we have my SQL. So this is going to load up my SQL. So my SQL shouldn't take time. Now let me just go back to the page and then I'm going to show you what is going on. So for example, this user.php model, this is the model that stores the credentials of a user whenever they are registered. That is, for example, if a user comes to the site and fill their email and then they fill in their password, this model is the logic behind that. And then each of this model, we have a you can see a class named the user model, which is this class user, and then it extends the authenticatable class. So this authenticatable is used for authentication. Now let's come down and see what is the next thing. It says use API token, all this stuff. We don't need to worry about this. Now what we need to deal with is this section, which is the protected fillable. The protected fillable is what ensures that whenever you are filling an information into your database, this part and this section is what goes into the database table. For example, if you don't want users to be able to enter password into your database and you want to make the password to be abstract, if you delete this, whenever a user goes to a front end and fill in the password field, you will not be able to enter the password into your database. Maybe you want to create the password for them automatically, or maybe you have a reason for doing that. But then let me just return this and save. So we don't need to start like scattering the logic that we had before. So what we need to just do is to scroll down once more and then we see protected hidden. Now, protected hidden is for working with APIs. For example, if a user is trying to like see some information, what information should come with a connection to a certain URL. That is, if we are trying to like load some information from the backend. For example, we don't want users to be able to see our password. For example, if a user has registered and then they are now like able to see their password on their page, that is the password being returning with the information that comes from the database table. This is going to cause a security flaw. So this is why they add anything that they don't want you to see in the protected Indian section. So that is just it. Now the other part, which is protected cast, we often don't much and we often don't really like deal with that. But then you can just take a look at that and look it up. So what we need to now do is to ensure that in our in our topic class where we want to create each and every one of this topic, we need to copy what is in the users.php because we can just copy them by default and then copy this and then go to the topic model and just paste it under this as factory. Now we don't need to like work with anything hidden, so I think we just need to delete this and then only work with fillable. And then now the fillable now describes our table column names. For example, in a typical database, for example in the users table, which is the forum. So this is the forum DB that we created at the initial stage when we migrated our database. So you can see users, which is the table, the first table that comes in from the user model that I was showcasing the other time. And then you can see the table, you can see the name, the email, and all the stuff. So those are this stuff that we have here. And then you can see password and all those stuff. So we want to make sure that in our topics table, the only thing that we want to be there is just the topic name. And then perhaps, is there anything else? No, because the other thing else will be created for us automatically. So we say topic name, and then we save this. When we save topic name, then the next thing we need to go back to is our migrations folder. So Control P and search for migrations or database. So when you search for database, you will find a folder called database, and then you see a migrations that says create topics table with the current date, which is today that we are working. And then anytime you make your migration, you see the current date, prefacing it, and some random ID, and then the name of your migrations table. So you see create topics table. Now, what next do we need to do? In this section where we have the create topics table, this is what define how the information that we are storing in our database will look like. For example, if you are creating an regular a regular SQL command, you have to start writing insert into database, blah 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 blah, varchar, int, and all those stuff that we declare. But then using Laravel, everything is just like straightforward and simple. So you just need to like tell the Laravel application that this is what you want to be in your database, and then it's going to convert it to the SQL command. So what we just need to do is say dollar table. What is the name of the um, column that we are working with? So we say go back to the topic.php model, so which is topic name, and then give it a we give it a name called we give it the data type that we want to store. For example, if we want to store integer, we can say integer. If we want to store a string, we can say string. But then we'll be storing something that might be long. For example, we want to have all this type of forum, all this type of forum names, all this type of forum topic names, so entertainment jokes and all those stuff. So we will just leave it at test, and then when we say test, we'll add a semicolon, and then we'll save. So this is all we need to do just for our topic section. So when we do this and then we save, what next do we need to do? When we've saved this and then we save our model also, then the next thing that we need to do is to run a new migration. And then when we run a new migration, it is going to create this topic table on our database. Now let's do it. So CLS to clear the screen, PHP artisan migrate. Now it says running migrations creates topics field. Now we have an error. So what is the error that we are facing? It says bad method call schema on topic name does not exist in what part of our table? Okay, so now let's go back. So I think the confusion here is that we made use of the data type in the string instead of the name of the column. So it should be dollar table test, and then the name of the column that we are using test for should be topic name. Now, don't get me wrong. It is good to always make mistake when working. This shows that you know what you are doing, and then you'll be able to resolve your mistakes. So this test, for example, can either be string if you want a string to be stored in your column, or integer. So this way we don't get confused. Now that we've done this, now that we've known this, we'll save this as a test, and then we'll now give the name of the column. For example, maybe if it is topic name, topic type, or any other thing, but we are not working with any other information. So this is the only thing that we have that we save. Now let's clear the screen again and then run our migration. The PHP artisan migrate. So now migrations will work successfully. Now we've created the topics table. Now, since we've created the topics table, let's go back to our database and reload. So we will see the topics table. So you can see topics on top of the users table. Click on topics, and then you see some database columns that comes with the topics table. So created that, updated that. These are the default timestamp that are used in any SQL table. So this way we'll be able to like track any information that is going on in that certain table. For example, maybe we inserted a new topic, it's going to put the default date that we inserted that topic. If we update the topic and change it, maybe we alter the topic table, it is going to do that. So that's just it. So now the next thing that we need to do is to maybe just fill the topics table with some information such as each of the topic page that I want to have. For example, if I want to have something like this, and then we can just like start filling it. So we can maybe just like input the data manually in MySQL by just doing it. But then for a good purpose, for a good development purpose, we don't fill data manually in the database because we want to make sure that any data we are entering would be on our front end. This is where we'll be putting all the information. So what do we need to do? We need to set up a page where we can put topics. So we'll go back to our routes and say route.php, which is web.php underneath the route folder. So don't mistake that. So this is where we showcase all our routes. Now you can see the default view, which is the welcome. This is why it's causing that issue. Now let me ensure that I'm using the default login and authentication page that was created by this Laravel Breeze. So we'll say what folder is our login page. So it is underneath the alt folder. So we say alt.login and then we save. So when we save that, this way we've saved it. Now let's refresh our default page and see what happens. So it is going to show us the default login created by Laravel Breeze. You can see the Laravel logo and all those stuff. Now let me say, for example, I want to edit this default login and then add some information to this part. Let's say, for example, where this forgot your password is, I want to add a link for registration beside it. So I can just come in over here and say small using the small tag in HTML and say don't have an account, something like this. Then sign up. And then I'll pass a link into this and say here hyperreference. You all know how this works. Then in double quotes, then something like this, because this is the way we pass links in Laravel. Then what link are we trying to pass? We want to pass the registration link. So register. So name we first of all say route, and then we add a colon and say register this way. This way to point to the register link. So whenever we click on don't have an account, it take us to registration page. Now go back to the route file, add the register route. So you can just duplicate one of these routes. So we won't be duplicating the middleware route. Let's duplicate this route. So say route get slash register. Then do one more thing. Add a name to the register route. Name is register. And then one more thing. Change the location of where we're pointing to the blade file that we're pointing to register, because register is also part of the authentication folder which has been created for us by the Laravel Breeze, which is this. Now the names allows us to be able to capture it in a URL. For example, when you go back to login.blade.php, you can see don't have an account sign up. So this name that we give in our web.php file is what allows us to be able to track that route. So when we save now, and let's see our web.php file, login.php file, you can see don't have an account. And then when we click on it, it's going to take it to where you register. And so what does this say? Okay, so I made a mistake. I added one more stuff there. This is what's now causing that issue of not going to register. So when you click on the don't have an account yet, sign up and all those stuff, you would be able to go to the register page, and then you'll be able to register yourself as a new user on that forum. And then we can edit the Laravel logo and change all this stuff. So you can see that's just it. So you can see already registered where it returns it back to the login page and all the stuff. So that's just it. Now the next thing that we need to do is to create that page where we can fill in all our topics in this topics table. And so this is very easy. So what we need to do is that if we want it to be visible to the entire public, where they can just go there and add topics, fine, we can do that. So if you want it to be private, we can also do that. So by default from now, I want to like make it visible to the entire public. Anybody can just go to that place and add a topic. So what do we do? Let's create a new page and say control N rather, and give it in. I'll be saving it in this place. So let me just right click on the views part and say new file and say topics dot blade dot php. Now on topics dot blade dot php, let's just echo something and just show something. Say welcome to topics creation, and then add it to the route. So Control P and go to web.php where your route is to be able to navigate to the topic section to create a topic. So copy one of this, or you can just copy this and then say name it, give the route a name, topics, and then what file are we processing? Because we are not in the authentication folder, that is any application where we want to like require users to be able to like create use an authentication to be able to access. So we just go to the normal page where we have topics and say topics, and then just give the route a name again, topics, for you to be able to access it with an hyperlink. So this way, saved, and then what then do we need to do? So we have to make sure that we are able to create a topic and then have a place where we can navigate to it. So since we have this default login page, let's go back to our default login page. Notice when we are on this forum, we have this page like this, and then we want to make sure that our topic is accessible to the public. So what do? We can create a UI and then add a like an HTML element to just create the topic. But then I won't be doing that. I want to just be the only one that we know about that URL to create a topic. So let me just navigate to topic. So I'll just be doing it manually, and then it is going to show topics creation section. Now let's just start creating some designs or some form stuff to be able to like fill the topics. So what do we do? So let's just start filling some form and then start creating form and other stuff. So let's design a form and other stuff to create a topic. So let's just quickly go back to our AI companion and tell it create a form where I can fill a topic name such as education or anything. Use education as a placeholder for the input. Give me the form, and also ensure it to get submitted. Also ensure it gets submitted to a post route called create topic in Laravel plate. So this way, the AI companion understands that you are trying to use Laravel Blade to create a form, to set up a form that submits to a post route called create topic. So this is where it handles all those stuff. So when you copy this and then it helps, did you add some styles to it? Let's just leave it. So it's even showing you how to create that. I will not be like, I will just show you that by myself. So create topic, and then when you save this way, let's refresh this our page again, and then we'll see the form. So it's Laravel is now like making our application to break. Now, why is it breaking? It's trying to enforce some rules. That is, the rules are very strict now because most people don't understand that in modern versions of PHP, everything is now like very strict and enforced that you have to always ensure that you do your due diligence. You cannot like leave any low fruits hanging. So what do you need to do? This create topic, the route is not created. And so Laravel is telling us that you have not created this route and then you are unable to like access this page and then submit anything. You have to do this by force. So what do we need to do? Just go back to the web.php and create the create topic route. So copy this from the page that shows the error, which is this the name of the route we are trying to access, and say route post route post. Now the name of the route is slash create topic. Now, what next do we want to be in the route? We want to ensure that the route points to a controller. So we say controller create, we need to pass an array and say create topic. Because we might also want to use this controller for other things. Let's just say, let me just give it a name called general controller. And then we can now pass one more thing, which is the class, and then another thing, which is the method we are trying to like allow this create topic to point to. So we say create topic. Now, it's always good to name your method and your route the same name. So now the next thing that we need to do is to create general controller because modern versions of PHP are statically typed, just like Java, C++. No longer any issues for any errors. So anything you have to do is like enforced on you. So you say PHP artisan make controller general controller. So this will create general controller in the app HTTP controller page. Sorry, in the app HTTP controller folder. Now let's try to save again. I think general controller should be located. So it needs to be imported in the section where we have all this. So say use app HTTP slash controllers slash general controller. And then we save this. Now general controller is now in our route file and it's no longer giving an issue. Now let's navigate to general controller in the controller folder. So with this general controller, we need to pass a method called let's say public function. What is the name of the method? I will say create topic. Now we have to ensure that when creating methods, we enforce the correct name and then some other things that we need to pass to it. So what is the name? Create topic. So this is the correct name. We have to make sure that the name we are pointing to is correct to prevent any issue. Then the next thing that we'll be requiring is to pass the request method. Now in my tutorial on how to like create API, I explained what the request does. So the request allows you to like receive any request from your front end if you are trying to pass any data from your front end, such as entering an information into a form and submitting it to that certain method. So we say request and then dollar request, and then we request whatever we are trying to like accept from our front end. So because on this page, let me now save. Let me save everything. And let me just say echo hello, and then let me just put a colon there. So let me go back to web.php. Let me make sure everything is saved. Now let's reload our page. So we will no longer have this issue of create topic not defined. So what does this say? Create topic not defined. So what is the issue? Create topic. I think we need to add one more thing, which is the name, which is create topic, and then save. So let's reload to see. So we have the form, which is this. Now we can style our form and start making everything look beautiful. But then we are always like caring more about functionality. As a full stack developer, you care more about functionality first before any kind of design. Your app needs to function. So we've been able to set up everything perfectly. Now we can fill in form and then see it on our controller. So for example, if I enter anything, let me go back to my view, which is the topics.b.php. And then in this view that has been created by AI, we have this topic name, blah, 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 like that. So what information do we pass? This is the information we are trying to get. Don't forget when submitting form on a normal PHP application, it targets the name and all the stuff. So this information we'll try to receive it on our backend, whatever we enter inside here. So and we are submitting it to create topic dot PHP controller. So go back to the general controller where we have the method. So we receive this file. So we say, let me go back again to the topics.php. The text that we are going to receive is topic name, and go back to the general controller and say return, or let me just say dd. So we need to request the topic and say dollar topic name. So we assign a variable and say request, which is this stuff that we pass into our method or function. Request input topic name, which is what we are trying to get from our front end, which is the name that we pass into our form, and then we will dd topic name. Sorry, so dd topic name. So since we've done this, now let's see what happens when we like submit this topic to that route. So what do we do? Now let's see. I think everything should work perfectly fine. Sorry, go back to topics.php. Now let's see what happens. So let's see. So if I refresh and I try to create a topic, now let me say topic, let me just say celebrities for example, and then I click. So it returns celebrities. What I entered is like being received on my backend in this controller named create topic controller. Very good. We are all set and done. And then we have been able to like hack the Laravel functionality. And then very simple, very easy, very fast. I've been able to come to the section where we've like have the knowledge on how to create a Laravel view and a Laravel model and a Laravel controller, MVC. So that is the logic behind modern applications. So we've been able to do that, and then we are all good to go now. We can now start creating all the necessary things that we need to do. We can now have that knowledge to be able to like recreate all those things that we need to use. So I'll see you on the next section of this video, and I hope you enjoy my video. So you can please just share this video to your friends for anyone like looking to start learning full stack and web development applications. So thank you very much. I will see you on the next section where we start like creating all our beautiful functionalities and even creating something more better than the forum that we are seeing. So thank you very much. See you on the next